Have you ever noticed how much of your life has been spent trying to explain yourself? You explain why you were late. You explain why you said no. You explain why you feel the way you feel, as if your emotions need a courtroom defense. And yet, the more you explain, the less you are understood. The more words you pour out, the less respect you seem to gain. It's as if every justification chips away at your authority, your presence, your very sense of self. Carl Jung once wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But here is the hard truth. You cannot become who you are while you are trapped in the endless cycle of explaining yourself to others. Think about it. Why do you feel this compulsion to explain? Why is silence so unbearable? The answer is uncomfortable, because somewhere deep inside, you still believe you owe the world proof that you are enough. You still believe that if you don't justify yourself, people will reject you, and that belief keeps you chained. Jung described the persona, the mask we wear to gain acceptance. For many, this mask is built out of explanations. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. I only said no because I'm tired, not because I don't care. I didn't reply right away because I was busy. I promise I'm not ignoring you. Each of these sentences seems harmless, even polite, but stitched together, they form a prison of justification. Explaining yourself becomes a reflex. You don't even notice it anymore. And worse, other people do notice. They realize that you are easy to corner. They realize they only need to look disappointed or act upset, and you will rush to defend yourself. This is not communication. It's control. It's manipulation disguised as expectation. Jung believed that our psyche runs on a limited store of energy, what he called psychic energy. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction spends a little of this fuel. Now imagine how much of your psychic energy is being drained every single time you over-explain. When you write long texts defending your boundaries. When you go back and forth, desperate to make someone understand your heart. When you lie awake, rehearsing what you should have said to make them see your side. That's not just wasted time, that's wasted life force. And here's the paradox. No explanation, no matter how perfect, will ever convince someone who is determined not to understand you. People don't always want your truth, they want your compliance. Which is why Jung warned us, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. If someone gets irritated when you don't explain, it's not about you, it's about them. It reveals their need to control, to dominate, to keep you inside their narrative. Now, imagine this. Instead of explaining why you can't go, you simply say, no. Instead of justifying why you feel hurt, you simply let your silence speak. Instead of defending your decision, you let the decision stand without footnotes. At first, it feels terrifying. You'll feel guilt rising, the panic that they'll misunderstand you, reject you, abandon you. But then something miraculous begins to happen. The silence shifts the dynamic, the power shifts. The very people who used to demand your explanations suddenly don't know how to handle you. They push harder, they accuse, they provoke, because your refusal to explain forces them to confront something they have always avoided, their own emptiness. And you? You begin to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Peace, strength, sovereignty. Because when you stop explaining yourself, you stop giving people the script for how to treat you. When you live your life constantly explaining yourself, you are giving people the blueprint for how to manipulate you. They know which words make you defensive, which accusations make you scramble to prove yourself, which silences make you panic. Jung warned that most of our emotional responses are not conscious choices, but programmed reactions. And those who understand this, even unconsciously, can use it against you. The truth is, manipulation doesn't always come through shouting or threats. Often, it comes through the silent pressure of guilt. When someone sighs, when someone withdraws, when someone gives you that disappointed look, they know you will feel compelled to explain. They don't even need to ask. You will hand them your energy voluntarily. And yet, if you stop explaining, the whole game falls apart. Because now, they are forced to sit with the story they were trying to impose on you. They can accuse you, they can speculate, but when you don't feed it with justifications, their narrative collapses. This is what Jung called projection. People project their own unresolved conflicts, fears, and shadows onto you. They see you not as you are, but as a screen for their own hidden struggles. And every time you explain yourself, you agree to hold their projection in place. You become the actor in a story that was never yours to begin with. Think of the friend who only calls you when they are in crisis. Think of the partner who questions your every move, not out of care, but to keep you on the defensive. Think of the colleague who hints that you're not pulling your weight until you rush to prove otherwise. They're not really interacting with you. They're interacting with their own fears and insecurities, using you as the stage. And why do you comply? Because deep down, you are afraid. Afraid of being rejected, afraid of being abandoned, afraid of being misunderstood. So you explain. And in that moment, you hand them your power. But here is the hidden cost. The more you explain yourself, the less people respect you. They begin to see your words as a resource to extract, not as a truth to honor. They realize you will go to great lengths to prove your innocence, to show your good intentions. And once they know that, they no longer have to meet you with fairness. They can provoke you, accuse you, and you will do the work of defending yourself. Over-explaining becomes a leash that keeps you tied. Carl Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When you stop explaining yourself, you are forcing others to face their own darkness instead of dumping it on you. Your silence becomes a mirror, and that mirror is uncomfortable. People lash out not because you did something wrong, but because your refusal to justify yourself exposes how much they depended on controlling your reactions. They depended on your endless explanations to feel in charge. At first, you will feel guilty. You will want to rush in with words to smooth things over. But ask yourself, how many times has explaining yourself actually brought peace? How many times has it actually convinced the other person to see you differently? Almost never. Because explanation is not about truth, it is about power. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. When you finally stop explaining yourself, you reclaim that power. Suddenly, people don't know how to categorize you. They don't know whether to call you selfish or strong, arrogant or authentic. And that uncertainty terrifies them, but it liberates you, because you no longer exist inside their script. You no longer perform for their approval. You exist on your own terms. And here lies the paradox. The less you explain yourself, the more respect you command. Your silence becomes weightier than 1,000 words. Your decisions begin to stand as decisions, not as arguments to be debated. And people begin to realize they cannot bend you with guilt. They can only meet you as you are. That is the beginning of individuation, the process Jung described as becoming whole, authentic, true. It is not about being rude or distant. It is about conserving your psychic energy for what truly matters. It is about understanding that every justification you withhold is a boundary drawn in silence. So now ask yourself, how many of your explanations were really necessary? And how many were just an attempt to keep people comfortable while you abandoned yourself? If you stopped explaining today, who would get upset? Who would accuse you of changing? Who would suddenly find you difficult? And what does that reveal about the relationship? Because the moment you stop explaining, everything changes. When you look closely at your own patterns, you begin to see just how much of your inner energy is wasted in explanation. Carl Jung described the human psyche as an energy system, constantly exchanging and spending psychic energy. Every word you speak, every thought you obsess over, every emotional reaction is like fuel being burned. But unlike money, you cannot simply earn back psychic energy quickly. Once it is gone, it takes time, rest, and inner balance to be restored. And yet you pour this limited energy into justifying yourself, into defending decisions that should never have required defense, into rehearsing conversations where you desperately want to be understood. This is why you feel drained after certain encounters. It is not because you spoke too much, it is because you explained yourself too much. Think about the last time you walked away from a conflict and felt exhausted. Chances are, you spent half the time defending your own intentions. I didn't mean it that way. You misunderstood me. I only did this because... That spiral is not communication. It is energy leakage. It is you bleeding psychic energy to someone who may not even care about the truth, someone who may only care about winning the exchange. Jung warned us that what you resist persists. The more you fight to correct how others see you, the more you trap yourself in their perception. You become entangled in a game you cannot win because the rules are not yours. This is why silence is so powerful. When you choose not to explain, you stop feeding that cycle. The projection others cast upon you falls flat. They cannot use your explanations as fuel to keep the drama alive, and though they may grow louder, more insistent, more provocative, they will soon realize that the old game no longer works. In that moment, you reclaim your energy. You stop being drained by battles that were never worth fighting. But here is where it becomes uncomfortable. Silence forces people to confront themselves. When you refuse to explain, they are left with their own assumptions. They are left with the discomfort of not knowing your side, of not being reassured, of not being able to press you into submission with guilt. For those who depended on your constant justifications, this silence feels like a betrayal. They will call you cold. They will accuse you of arrogance. They will say you are distant or uncaring, but beneath those accusations is fear. Fear that their control over you has ended. Jung taught that individuation, the journey of becoming your authentic self, often requires a painful separation from old patterns. And one of the most entrenched patterns is over-explaining. It is born in childhood when we learn that love and approval are conditional. You explain yourself to parents, to teachers, to friends, hoping to avoid rejection or punishment. And without realizing it, you carry that habit into adulthood, explaining to partners, colleagues, even strangers. You live as though your existence is always on trial. But here is the revelation. You are not on trial. You never were. The only person demanding a defense from you is yourself, echoing the old fears of abandonment. Once you realize this, the compulsion to explain weakens. You begin to see that every unnecessary justification is a form of self-abandonment. You give away your energy not because others demand it, but because you have not yet learned to protect it. And this is where the transformation begins. Imagine walking into a room and simply saying no when you mean no. Imagine refusing to justify why you chose rest instead of another obligation. Imagine letting your silence stand when someone tries to provoke you. At first, it feels unbearable, but soon, you begin to notice something remarkable. People start treating you differently. They hesitate before questioning you. They think twice before demanding your time, and some, unable to manipulate you anymore, simply drift away. This is not a loss. It is a cleansing. It is life-making space for relationships where you do not have to defend your existence. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, people see you differently. Your presence carries weight. Your words, when you choose to use them, carry more meaning. Your silence itself becomes a boundary, a declaration that your energy is not to be wasted. You are no longer the emotional rag that anyone can wring for validation. You become rare, respected, and untouchable in ways that endless explanations could never achieve. And in this space of silence, something else is born. The return of your own voice. Not the voice you used to defend yourself, but the voice that arises when you speak only from truth. That voice does not explain. It does not justify. It simply declares. And when it does, the world listens. When you stop explaining yourself, something unexpected happens. The people around you begin to reveal themselves in ways you could never have predicted. Those who only valued you for your endless justifications, for your willingness to defend and defend again, suddenly become unsettled. They are no longer able to use guilt or misunderstanding as tools to control you. They may accuse you of changing, of becoming distant, of not caring anymore. But the truth is, it isn't that you have changed. It's that you have stopped playing the role they assigned you. Carl Jung often spoke about the masks we wear, the persona we put on to be accepted by society. When you live through constant explanation, that persona is nothing more than a shield of words. You try to manage how others see you by offering them endless reasons, endless justifications, endless proof that you are good, kind, trustworthy, or worthy. But when you strip away that mask, when you no longer explain yourself, people no longer know which version of you they are dealing with. The predictable mask is gone, and all that is left is your real, unshakable presence. That unsettles them because it forces them to see you without the filter they grew comfortable with. Think about this carefully. Who gets irritated when you stop explaining? Who demands your reasons, your excuses, your background story? Who needs you to keep proving yourself again and again? These are the ones who benefited from your weakness. They relied on your self-doubt to keep you pliable. They used your fear of rejection as leverage. And when that leverage disappears, so does their power. Jung reminded us that relationships are not only mirrors, but also battlegrounds of projection. When you stop explaining, you are no longer a canvas for someone else's projection. Their accusations, their misunderstandings, their subtle manipulations suddenly bounce back onto them. And here is the crucial point. When people can no longer use your explanations as fuel, they have to confront their own emptiness. They are forced to sit with the silence that exposes their dependence on your reactions. This is why some will lash out, why some will distance themselves, why some will even accuse you of being cruel. But if you look closely, you'll see that their frustration is not about you. It is about the sudden collapse of the game they were playing without even realizing it. This is the essence of Jung's teaching on individuation. To become who you truly are, you must step away from the roles, the masks, the narratives others impose on you. And one of the most radical ways to do that is to stop explaining yourself. Every withheld explanation is a boundary. Every silence is a declaration. I do not owe you my energy. I do not owe you my peace. I do not owe you my constant defense. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. You will feel the urge to soften the silence with words, to patch the tension with explanations. You will feel guilty, as though you are letting people down. But let me ask you, how many times has explaining actually brought you closer to someone? How many times has it made them respect you more? Rarely, if ever. The truth is, explanations often make you smaller in their eyes. Because what is always available, always defensible, always bending over backwards to be understood, eventually loses its value. When you withhold your explanations, you begin to see who truly values you. The ones who care for you will not demand endless justifications. They will accept your no without interrogation. They will respect your choices without needing a 3-page essay to back them up. And the ones who cannot handle this? They reveal themselves as people who never really saw you, only the role you played for their benefit. This is the painful but liberating part of the journey. You will lose people. You will confuse people. You will even be attacked by some, but what you gain is infinitely greater. Your center, your inner authority, your unshakable presence. Because when you stop explaining yourself, you stop living for others' approval and start living for your own truth. And in that moment, something profound shifts. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy to control. You stop being the emotional safety net for people who never gave back what they took. Instead, you become rare, valuable, respected. Not because you convinced anyone, but because you no longer feel the need to. That is the true beginning of freedom. The modern world worships noise, We are surrounded by constant chatter, endless debates, the pressure to always respond, always justify, always prove that we are right or good or valuable. But what few people realize is that silence, the refusal to explain, is one of the most powerful forces you can wield. It is not passive. It is not cowardice. It is not weakness. True silence, conscious silence, is a presence so strong that it unsettles anyone who has depended on your constant words to feel in control. Have you noticed how some people panic when you don't respond? When you don't rush to clarify yourself? When you simply let their assumptions hang in the air, unanswered? That panic is not because they truly miss your voice. It is because your silence takes away their narrative control. As long as you explain, you are still inside their story, still defending yourself within the frame they created. But the moment you fall silent, the game ends. And that terrifies them, because now they are forced to look at their own assumptions without your explanations to prop them up. Carl Jung understood silence not as emptiness, but as fertile ground for transformation. To him, individuation required distancing from the noise of others so that we could hear our own voice. When you stop explaining yourself, you are not withdrawing from the world in defeat. You are reclaiming your psychic energy. You are turning away from pointless battles so that your energy can return to you, so that you can direct it toward your own growth. Jung knew that silence was not absence. It was amplified presence. And presence is exactly what grows when you no longer scatter your words, trying to be understood. You begin to notice patterns you couldn't see before. You see who always tries to provoke you. You see who only values you when you defend yourself. You see the cycles of guilt and justification that once kept you trapped. Silence allows you to observe, and observation is dangerous to those who once controlled you. Because once you see the game clearly, you no longer play it. At first, people will call you cold. They will say you are distant, arrogant, detached. But these accusations reveal more about them than about you. They reveal how much they depended on your constant explanations to keep their illusions alive. They reveal how little they respected your presence when it was always wrapped in defense and justification. Now, stripped of those explanations, your presence carries a different weight. You no longer prove yourself. You simply are, and that unsettles anyone who never wanted to meet you, only the role you performed. This is the price of silence. It will distance you from those who only valued your explanations. It will make you incomprehensible to those who only understood you through the mask you wore. But it will also protect you from those who thrived on your emotional availability, because the less you explain, the less predictable you become, and what cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. Jung taught that individuation requires us to face discomfort, to endure being misunderstood, to walk alone for a time. Silence is part of that process. It is not easy. It feels unnatural, especially if you were raised to believe that goodness means explaining, that love means justifying, that peace means always smoothing things over. But look at where that has brought you: exhaustion, resentment, emptiness. What has explaining really given you except the illusion of being in control while your energy slips away? When you stop explaining, you create sacred space inside yourself. You begin to feel your own energy return. You notice that not every attack deserves an answer, not every accusation deserves your breath, not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. And in that selective silence, you begin to rebuild yourself. You realize that you don't need to prove your intentions, your kindness, or your worth to anyone. Your existence is proof enough. And here is the irony. The less you explain, the more valuable your words become. People listen when you do speak because they know you don't waste words defending what never needed defense. Your silence sharpens your speech. Your absence sharpens your presence. You become respected not because you convinced anyone, but because you no longer feel the need to. That is the paradox of silence. It speaks louder than any explanation ever could. When you finally stop explaining yourself, the first thing you will encounter is not peace. It is guilt. You will feel an almost unbearable urge to fill the silence, to patch the discomfort with words, to reassure people that you are still kind, still loyal, still the same person they thought they knew. You will hear the voice inside your head whispering, "They'll misunderstand me. They'll think I don't care. They'll leave if I don't explain." That voice is not truth. It is conditioning. It is the echo of years spent believing that your worth depended on keeping everyone comfortable, that love could only be preserved through constant justification. But here is the truth. When you stop explaining yourself, some people will leave. Some will accuse you of being selfish, arrogant, or cold. Some will attack you more fiercely than before, desperate to break your silence. And this is where the real test begins. Because this is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that the bond was never authentic. It was held together by your endless effort to defend yourself. Once that effort stops, the illusion collapses. Jung understood this well. He wrote that individuation often feels like a kind of exile. You will walk alone for a time, misunderstood by many, criticized by some, abandoned by others. But this loneliness is not a punishment. It is the doorway to freedom. In that silence, when the explanations cease and the crowd thins, you begin to hear something you have not heard in years. Your own voice. Not the voice rehearsing excuses, not the voice defending decisions. The deeper voice within you, the one that has been drowned out by the noise of justification. At first it is faint, but with every act of silence, with every refusal to explain, it grows stronger. And slowly, you begin to realize that you are not lonely. You are reclaiming space that was always yours, but had been filled by the demands of others. The guilt, though sharp, begins to transform. You start to see it for what it really is, not evidence that you are doing harm, but a symptom of healing. You have been conditioned to associate self-protection with selfishness, to mistake boundaries for cruelty. But that conditioning was the very reason you kept explaining yourself in the first place. Breaking free from it feels unnatural, even painful. But that pain is temporary. What replaces it is something far more enduring, peace. And yes, silence has a cost. It will distance you from people who only valued your availability. It will make you incomprehensible to those who thrived on your constant justifications. You will hear things like, "You've changed. You're not who you used to be." And they are right. You have changed. You are no longer someone who offers their energy on demand. You are no longer a mirror for others to project onto. You are no longer willing to abandon yourself for approval. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." The irony is that explaining yourself endlessly never truly communicated who you are. It only communicated fear. When you stop explaining, the silence may look like distance, but in truth, it is authenticity. You are finally communicating what matters most, that your energy, your time, your truth are yours to guard. At this stage, something else happens. People who truly value you will remain. They may not always understand, but they will not demand explanations as the price of your love. They will accept your boundaries. They will respect your silence. And in their presence, you will realize that love does not require constant defense. Respect does not require endless justification. These are the relationships worth keeping. The others, the ones who fall away, were never yours to begin with. And so the guilt fades. The loneliness transforms. And in its place, a new kind of strength begins to grow, a strength that does not shout, a strength that does not defend, a strength that does not explain. It simply is. And that strength is what makes everything change. As the silence deepens and you resist the pull to explain yourself, you begin to notice a profound shift within. Something that once felt terrifying, the absence of justification, slowly becomes a form of sovereignty. You realize that every time you withhold an explanation, you are reclaiming a piece of yourself that was scattered in the noise of others' expectations. What once felt like loss begins to feel like power. Carl Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, required us to separate from the masks we wear for others. And one of the most deceptive masks is the endless string of explanations we offer to appear kind, to appear loyal, to appear good. But here is the paradox. The more you explain, the less people see the real you. They see only the mask of words. They interact not with your essence, but with your defenses. When you finally strip that away, when you let your decisions stand without commentary, you are no longer filtered through justification. You appear in your raw form, unmediated, unmasked. And though that unsettles others, it liberates you. Think about the authority of those who command respect without ever justifying themselves. They speak rarely, but when they do, their words are final. Their presence carries weight not because they shouted louder or argued longer, but because they refuse to scatter their energy in defense. This is what happens when you stop explaining yourself. Your silence becomes more powerful than any carefully crafted defense ever could. People begin to notice that you cannot be cornered, cannot be baited, cannot be trapped in endless debates designed only to exhaust you. You stand apart, and in that distance, your value grows. And yet, there is still discomfort, because silence forces you to confront your own need for validation. When you refuse to explain, you also refuse the false comfort of being understood by everyone. You realize that some people will choose to misunderstand you, to paint you as cold, arrogant, or unkind, and you must let them. This is the cost of sovereignty. You no longer control the image others hold of you, and that is exactly why you become free. For as long as you explained, you were trying to manage their perception. Now, you accept that their perception is theirs to carry, not yours to fix. Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And part of accepting yourself completely is no longer needing to explain yourself to be accepted by others. You stop seeking refuge in their understanding. You stop chasing the illusion that if you just explained well enough, they would finally see you. And in abandoning that chase, you return to yourself. Notice how people react when you no longer justify. Some will withdraw because your silence denies them control. Others will grow louder, desperate to provoke the old you back into the game. But a few, a rare few, will lean in with respect. They will recognize your silence as strength. They will see that you are no longer wasting energy on proving yourself, and they will value you more for it. These are the connections that survive individuation, not built on masks, not built on explanations, but built on authenticity. And here is the greatest irony. The very people who once dismissed your endless explanations will now respect your silence. They may not like it, but they will recognize it. Because what is scarce becomes valuable. When your words are no longer scattered in defense, they become precious when you choose to speak. And that shift changes everything. You are no longer the person who bends over backward to be understood. You are no longer the person who gives away your energy just to maintain peace. You are no longer the person who mistakes explanations for connection. You are someone else entirely, someone whole, someone centered, someone sovereign. This is the transformation Jung pointed toward. It is not about becoming untouchable. It is about becoming real. And the real you has no need to explain. When you stop explaining yourself, at first it feels like the world is collapsing around you. You feel misunderstood. You feel rejected. You feel as though silence has cost you everything. But with time, something extraordinary happens. The silence that once felt heavy begins to lighten. The loneliness that once felt unbearable begins to heal. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to realize that you have been reborn. This is the rebirth that Carl Jung spoke of in the process of individuation. The death of the mask, the death of the persona, the death of the exhausting role you played for everyone else. In its place, a new life emerges, not shaped by their expectations, not dependent on their approval, not weakened by the need to be constantly understood. A life shaped from within. At first, the silence seems like absence. Friends drift away. Relationships grow colder. Some people accuse you of being selfish or unkind. But in that clearing, something precious takes root. The clutter of explanations is gone, and with it, the people who only valued you for the energy you poured into justification. What remains is clarity. What remains is peace. What remains are the rare connections that never required you to defend who you are. And in that silence, you discover something you may have never felt before: wholeness. No longer fragmented into 1,000 explanations, no longer scattered across endless defenses, you return to yourself. You feel the strength of being enough without proof. You feel the authority of your own choices standing without commentary. You feel the sovereignty of being unshakable, not because everyone agrees with you, but because you no longer need them to. Jung warned that the path to authenticity is not easy. It requires enduring misunderstanding. It requires the courage to be rejected. It requires the strength to stand alone when others cannot comprehend the freedom you have claimed. But he also promised that on the other side of this trial lies true individuation, the moment you no longer live as a puppet of others' projections, but as the full expression of your own essence. Think of the people you once exhausted yourself explaining to. Where are they now? How many of them truly understood you, even after all your words? How many of them respected you more because of your explanations? The truth is sobering. Most did not. Because explanations do not create respect. Silence does. Boundaries do. Presence does. And so, when you stop explaining yourself, everything changes. You lose the illusion of connection built on justification. But you gain the real connection of authenticity. You lose the constant drain of trying to be understood. But you gain the peace of being whole without defense. You lose the approval of those who only loved your compliance. But you gain the freedom of those who can finally love you as you are. This is the great paradox of individuation. To be whole, you must be willing to be misunderstood. To be free, you must be willing to be rejected. To be at peace, you must be willing to walk through the silence of loneliness until it transforms into the solitude of strength. And when you reach that point, you will see that silence was never emptiness. It was always the beginning of your rebirth. So the question is no longer whether others will understand you. The question is whether you will finally stop betraying yourself for their comfort. Will you continue to waste your life in explanations that convince no one? Or will you step into the terrifying, liberating silence of simply being? Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And when you stop explaining yourself, you finally choose to become whole. You finally choose to live not for others' approval, but for your own truth. You finally choose to walk the path of individuation, even if it costs you comfort, even if it costs you company. Because what you gain is priceless, your soul, unbroken, unapologetic, and free. So I ask you now, are you ready to stop explaining? Are you ready to let silence speak for you? Are you ready to become whole? If you are, then everything will change. And this time, the change will not be for them. It will be for you.